only are the demigods parts of the Supreme Lord, but ordinary living entities are also. In the Sri Bhagavatam, it is stated that the Brahmanas, I think I read this bit.
Yeah. Right. Doesn't matter, continue.
Just continue from where it says the Sudras are as legs and all serve different functions, so regardless. Yeah.
Regardless of the situation, if one knows that both the demigods and he himself are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, his knowledge is perfect. But if he does not understand this, he achieves different planets where the demigods reside. This is not the same destination the devotees reaches. The results achieved by the demigods' benediction are perishable, because within this material world, the planets, their demigods and their worshippers are all perishable. Therefore, it is clearly stated in this verse that all results achieved by worshipping demigods are perishable, and therefore such worship is performed by the less intelligent living entity. Because the pure devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness in devotional service of the Supreme Lord achieves eternal blissful existence that is full of knowledge, his achievements and those of the common worshipper of the demigods are different. The Supreme Lord is unlimited, his favour is unlimited, his mercy is unlimited. Therefore, the mercy of the Supreme Lord upon his pure devotees is unlimited.
Wow, that's part really good. Yeah, so the first point mentioned is that some people say that you can worship any demigod and everyone goes to the same place, the same result. Doesn't matter what process you follow, that everyone goes to the same place. Isn't it like people, even in the West, isn't it? We have that, even you don't know about demigods, but everyone says, oh, so-and-so died, my uncle died, my auntie died, and they went to heaven, and then he died, he went to heaven, and then she died, and then she went to heaven, and we have this idea that everyone went to heaven. But is that real? No, not really. No, it depends what they did. You know, you have to look at it case by case. How did they live their life? What did they do? What they didn't do? And to see what the destination is. It's like,
if you catch a flight to London, you can't come to Australia. You definitely go to London, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. And like if you're in Newcastle, if you drive north Newcastle, are you going to reach the same place as if you went west?
No.
Or if you went south, or if you went east? If you went east from Newcastle, you'll be in the ocean. You know, and if you go west, you'll be in the desert. And if you go north, you'll be in Brisbane. And if you go south, you'll be in Canberra. You know, so you get a different destination if you take a different path. You can't say that it doesn't matter what path you take, it's all going to reach the same place. That's just not logical. That doesn't make sense. So, and Krishna's confirming that here. If you worship a particular demigod, you'll go to that particular demigod's planet. And if you worship Krishna, you'll go to Krishna. And if you worship Ram, you'll go to Ram. And if you worship Nrsimha, you'll go to Nrsimha. So if you worship Krishna, you're not going to go to
moon planet,
you know, to Buddha or whatever, or to the moon. You know, if you worship the moon, you're not going to go to Krishna. And if you worship Krishna, you're not going to go to the moon. You know, so you basically, Krishna gives you what you want. If you want the moon, then you're going to go to the moon. You know, and if you want him, you'll go to him. You know, so you get Krishna's Jayanti saying something.
Like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is this devotee, but he's actually a staunch devotee of Ganesha. Bhagavad mention, and then isn't it Jagannath who dresses up as Ganesha or something like that, or he puts on the hathi with just to satisfy the devotee. There's some story like that.
So Jayanti's telling one story about Jagannath, who's Krishna, in the form of Jagannath, how someone came to his temple that he knew that they had a lot of faith in Ganesh, that they loved Ganesh and worship Ganesh. So Krishna, he transformed his form of Jagannath into the form of Ganesh. So he had the elephant's trunk and everything like that, and the big ears, everything like that. So just to satisfy, because he knew that this person likes to worship Ganesh. So he transformed himself to look like Ganesh. And of course Krishna can do that, because, and that's what's also mentioned in this verse, is that all the demigods are part and parcel of the Lord. All the demigods are part and parcel of the Lord. So the Lord manifested himself as the part and parcel as Ganesh, just to please that particular devotee of Ganesh. But that's what Prabhupada's next point is, that, so like I said, his first point is that according to who you worship, that's where you're going to go, right? It doesn't mean that it doesn't matter who you worship, everyone's going to the same place. No, that's not true. That's not true. So depending on who you're focusing on, who you're worshiping, that's where you're going to go. But obviously, if you worship the demigods, you're going to be going to the material world again, which is a big difference, because if you worship God, if you worship Krishna, you're going out of the material world. You're going to go to the spiritual world. So that's so much better, because that's the eternal, blissful, full of knowledge life, versus taking birth in a demigod's planet is temporary and full of ignorance and suffering. So that's a big difference. So that's the first point. The second point is that people say is that, well, why can't we worship the demigods? Because the demigods are part of God. So why can't we just worship the part of God? You know, why do we have to worship Krishna? Because ultimately everything's Krishna. Everything's part of Krishna. So why can't we just worship the Ganesh part, or the Shiva part, or the Brahma part? But Prabhupada's example here is very nice. It's just like if people said, well, okay, we need to eat something. Why can't we just put food in any hole? Why can't we just put it in any hole? I'll stick the samosa up my bum, or I'll stick the samosa in my ear.
That's the exit. You can't enter
put it in
from
my
the
nose.
exit.
I'll just put it in my nose. You know, like that. No, you can't. There's a recommended process of putting the food in the body, and that's only through one hole, only through your mouth. And people might say, well, but in hospital they can put it through your rectum. Yeah, but that's in a diseased person. That's not the healthy way to eat. Or they put it through the vein, right? They put it through the vein. But you don't put the food through the vein of a healthy person. You put it through some sick. So that's not recommended. You know, recommended process for putting food in the body is only through your mouth. So the same way, that the recommended way to worship is just to worship the Supreme God. You know, just to worship Krishna, not to, you know, worshipping the demigods is like trying to put food up your backside. You know, it's not, or in your ear. That's not the recommended process. So that's a very graphic point, but it's very logical. Just like there's one recommended way to put the food in the body, so there's also one recommended worship. You worship the Supreme God. You worship Krishna, and then, just like if you put food in the mouth, then that goes to the stomach, and then that food goes everywhere. Then the food will go to your ear, and it will go to your nose, and it will go to your backside, and go to your nose and every other part of your body. So the same way, if you worship Krishna, then that will get distributed. That satisfaction that you gave to Krishna will get distributed to Ganesh, and to, you know, Durga and Shiva and Brahma and the sun god and the moon god and everyone, you know, 33 million gods or whatever. So, and to all the living entities, and to all the insects and the birds and the fish, and, you know, everything will get satisfied. And the examples given, like if you water the root of the tree, If you put water on the root of the tree, then that will get distributed everywhere to all the millions of leaves and the branches and the flowers and the fruits. But if you want to water a tree, do you put the water on the fruit? You put the water on the flowers? You put the water on the leaves? No, an expert gardener knows there's only one way to put the water on the plant, and that's at the roots. You put the water on and then that'll get distributed everywhere. And the same way, if you want to put food in the body, you put it in the mouth, it goes to the stomach, then it goes everywhere. You don't put it on your, in your ear or your nose or like that. So that's something very important we need to learn. And that's the essence and essential point of Krishna consciousness, is that just by pleasing Krishna, you please everyone. Just by satisfying Krishna, by serving Krishna, you serve everyone. So people say, "Oh, are you Hare Krishnas? You just love Krishna. You don't love anyone else. You don't love your family or anything like that. You just doing everything for Krishna. You don't do anything for society like that." But that's not true. Actually, just by serving one person, by serving Krishna, we're actually serving everybody. That's the best way you can help your parents. The best way you can help your children. The best way you can help, humanity or fellow Aussies or Indians or the best way to help the animals or the fish or whatever is by serving Krishna, because that will get distributed. The service you do to Krishna will be distributed everywhere because Krishna's everywhere. And there's so many verses about that. That if one who worships Krishna, he worships everyone like that. So that's real love. That's real love. Whereas if I only just serve my wife, or I only just serve the government, or I only just serve my dog, then it's so limited. And even those persons will not be happy with you. Isn't it? Like if I ask my wife, "Are you happy with all the service I've done for the last 10 years? She'll say, "No, you have to do more." It's not good enough. It's not good enough. You haven't done enough. So many shortcomings like that. And, and then also the government, they're never going to be satisfied. It doesn't matter how much taxes you pay. They always want more, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long I take the dog for a walk for how many kilometers and hours. The dog always wants me to take him somewhere more. Never satisfied. No one's satisfied. But if you worship Krishna, he easily becomes satisfied, and then his pleasure goes to everywhere. Like even in the 9th chapter, we can look at that. And the 9th chapter, text 26, is a very nice verse saying, even a simple thing you do for Krishna, he accepts it, and he's satisfied. It's a very famous verse.
If one offer me with the love and the devotional a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it.
Yeah, so Krishna is satisfied and he accepts, even the most simple thing. That's why it's said here, a leaf, fruit, flower, water. Even the most... Yeah, very famous verse. Patram puspam phalam toyo, yo me bhakti rachati, tadaham bhakti paratam ashnami prayatatmana.
That's right.
So yeah, even the most simple thing, even the poorest person, right? Even if you're not rich or whatever, it doesn't matter. You can worship God even if you're the poorest person on the planet. You just give them a leaf. I mean, who can't get a leaf, or a fruit off of some tree or something? Or water, even just give them some water.
Water is free from the river.
But the main thing, which is mentioned here, is with love,
With the love.
So if you just offer some insignificant thing with love, then Krishna's, very touched by that. And one time Prabhupada tells a story, one instructive story in Prabhupada's pastimes where he was talking to a group of Indians somewhere in India in a room, and one simple village person came into the room. He just wore a gamsha. That means like a thin towel around his waist. Didn't have a shirt or anything, just a thin towel around his waist, the gamsha. And he came straight to Prabhupada, who was sitting behind a desk. He came straight to Prabhupada and put a garland of flowers around his neck And then he bowed down on the ground and he walked out. Prabhupada had been talking up to that point, and then he walked out. But Prabhupada was stunned. He couldn't talk for like minutes. He was so overwhelmed by emotion of just experiencing that person's devotion, his love, that he just came and gave him that garland of flowers. And then when Prabhupada could speak, he said, just see the effect this simple person had on me. Just by him, you know, out of the love of his heart, offering me these flowers. That you know, I couldn't even speak. I was so overwhelmed. So in the same way, what if we offer something to Krishna? How much he becomes affected. And believe me, you know, that Krishna is far more sensitive than we are. So even we're not very sensitive, how much we get affected if someone does a little service for us with love, how much we get affected, and we're not very sensitive. Krishna's the most sensitive person. If you offer something, even a simple thing, like that man offered just some simple flowers to Prabhupada, but how much Krishna will become, you know, grateful for that and touched by that service. So that's very wonderful to know, very wonderful to know. And so this is the process, you know, and that's in the next verse, 9:27. So he said, you know, even the most insignificant thing, you offer it to me with love and devotion, I'll accept it. The next verse, what does it say?
Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me.
Yes, so it doesn't matter what it is, but we should do it for Krishna. You know, you see, everyone eats, but they're not eating, you know, Krishna's prasadam. You know, they're just eating some bhoga for their own enjoyment. We offer things to people. We give away things to people, isn't it? People are very charitable. We like to give to the Cancer Society, the Blind Foundation, some poor person on the street, whatever, to some poor animals or whatever. We're offering things, giving things away, but we don't give to Krishna. You know, and we do austerities. We do go through a lot of difficulties to make money. We go through a lot of difficulties to get a high position in some job like that. We go through so much sacrifices, austerities to please other people and so many things, but we don't do any of these things for Krishna. So here Krishna's saying, whatever you're doing, whatever you're eating, do that for me. Do that for me. So it's the same point as we're having here. You're worshipping all these people, these demigods and the politicians and everything like that. Just worship me, Krishna's saying. You know, just worship me. And you're going to get so much more benefit by doing everything connected with Krishna. You're going to get so much more benefit than if you just forget Krishna. And then that's the perfection of our life. You know, if Krishna's pleased, if God's pleased with our tiny efforts, then our life is a success. Our life's pleased. Our life is, you know, fully successful. You know, if God, you know, the supreme powerful being is pleased with us, what you won't get out of that, what you won't be able to achieve. But yeah, we can't imagine the benefits that we're going to get, you know, by pleasing Krishna. He's unlimitedly opulent. We say, right, that in India, God is called Bhagavad. Bhagavad means completely full in 6 opulences. He's got unlimited beauty, unlimited strength, unlimited wealth, unlimited fame, unlimited renunciation, unlimited knowledge. So if you can please that person that is unlimited in everything, I mean, you're going to get so much poured on your head, you won't be able to, you know, even hold it. So much, you know, so it's just so much more intelligent to worship Krishna, to work for Krishna, to offer your food to Krishna. Everything should be, you know, Krishnized. Everything should be Krishna-centered. You have to eat, right? You can't not eat, but just connect your eating with Krishna. You know, you have to work. You can't not work. You have to do something. You have to move the body at least to keep it healthy. Well, just do your work for Krishna. You know, connect your work with Krishna. You know, if you're an artist, okay, just connect your art with Krishna. If you're a musician, just connect your music with Krishna. If you're into health, then, you know, use your health for Krishna, to serve Krishna. If you're good at speaking, use your words to glorify Krishna. You know, whatever it is. Whatever it is. If you're good with talking with people, you know, help people come to Krishna. Whatever it is, you know, just try to connect with Krishna. And we'll get so much more benefit by doing that than doing it any other way. You know, it's just like you're going to get so much more benefit if you put the food in your mouth than if you put it in your ear or your nose. So why not? And then if you do that, then if you actually do it, then like they say, the test of the pudding, what is it? Is the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So yeah, once you try that process, then you'll find it works. It's like, well, I chanted Hare Krishna for 1 month and I feel better. I feel more peaceful. I'm not affected by so much stress and anxiety. So people have these experiences, and that's because we've connected with Krishna. So the only thing that's unfortunate is people never connect with Krishna. That's the real unfortunate people. That people that have never had prasadam, they've never met a devotee, they've never read, you know, one of Prabhupada's books, or they've never seen devotees chanting Hare Krishna on the streets or something. Those people are very unfortunate. You know, they've never had that connection with Krishna. But if someone does, you know, then definitely it'll have some lasting effect on them. And I've met people that said that, you know, I met a Hare Krishna, like the Hare Krishnas came to my town, you know, 30 years ago, and I still remember. You know, it's like really gone deep into their, you know, subconsciousness. You know, there's at one time that the devotees went traveling around New Zealand with bullock cart, you know, with 2 bullocks pulling a cart, and they were chanting and dancing, distributing books and distributing prasadam throughout New Zealand. They went from the South Island to the North Island, and with the bulls. And a guy, I was chanting with other devotees in Auckland and on a Friday night, and a guy came up to me and he said, I still remember you guys came to my town, little small town, the South Island, like 30 years ago. I still remember to this day. You know, it was so blissful, so joyful. So that impression had gone into his heart, and he was so touched by that. After 30 years, he remembered like that. So yeah, any little connection with Krishna is priceless. It's valuable. It's our eternal bank balance. And when it builds up little bit by little bit, when it builds up, you know, you do a little bit of service, you hear the holy name, you take prasadam, you know, get a book or read something, whatever, then it's like Prabhupada said, like, and your spiritual bank balance, 1 cent, another 1 cent, 1 cent, 1 cent, 1 cent. And when it builds up, then when it's full, then you hit the jackpot. Then you get love of God, you know, and you go back to Godhead, back to the spiritual world. So Prabhupada said every time you bow down in the temple, it's like 1 cent. You know, every time you chant, every time you take prasad, every time you touch a book, like that, 1 cent, 1 cent. So this spiritual bank account, it only increases. The material bank account can go into the negative. The spiritual one, it's only positive. It adds up more and more. And when it's full, then you go back to Godhead. When your bank account is full, then you go back home back to Godhead. So maybe this life, we do, last life we did 10%, and then this life we do 30%, and then like that when it builds up. But our aim is to complete it this life. That's our aim, to complete this life. Go back to Godhead at the end of this life. And our hope is in Lord Chaitanya is so merciful, so kind, that even though we might not be fully pure or anything, that Lord Chaitanya is so kind that even though we might not have a full account, but Lord Chaitanya is just so magnanimous, so generous, that he might take us back to Godhead. And Prabhupada indicated that. Don't worry if you think you're not completely pure, but that Prabhupada will take us back to Godhead, and Lord Chaitanya will take us back to Godhead. So yeah, everyone should worship Krishna. Doesn't matter where you're at. If you're a materialistic person, worship Krishna. If you don't have any material desires, worship Krishna. So wherever you're at, you should worship Krishna, and you'll get the best result. Hare Krishna. Would anyone like to say anything?
Hare Krishna.
No.
I'll see you next Thursday.
See you next Thursday. Hare Krishna.
Good to it. Hey, you both take care. All the
Hare
best.
Yep,
Krishna.
you too.